Hey friends, it's Renee. I'm going to be doing a apparently glasses cleaning impromptu. Sorry about that. I'm going to be doing a larger past life reading today using my lovely mat to clean my glasses. That's okay. It loves me. I love it. Um, so for your past life reading, I didn't have a note or anything from you, so I just kind of went into this asking spirit to and the guides to really kind of just direct me where this should go. If there's any kind of lessons that you have traveling with you to this lifetime, or if there are any lessons or memories or dreams that have been coming up for you, I'm feeling connected to just kind of finding out anything we can here for you, and also kind of get a fun and interesting background. I love doing past life readings. What they're one of my favorite things to do. All readings really are a favorite, but those past life are just so exciting. So I went ahead and shuffled the deck already. I've been working a lot. I work a lot with my Everyday Witches Tarot all the time, but I've been working with it a lot the past few days. Been working with fairies a lot in the past few weeks, and every time I pick up a tarot deck, I'm feeling drawn to this one. So, and this isn't a fairy deck, but this was one of the first decks I got into when I started getting away from just doing fairy readings. So, yeah, so we're going to go into this. So, here I'm feeling at the top, I'm feeling kind of 3 cards for each section. I don't really work with a layout anymore with past life readings. I just kind of go with how I'm feeling each time. Today I was getting the number 3 as I was shuffling. This 3 could be a sign for you to watch for repeating 3s. But I also feel like today the guides were telling me to pull cards in groups of 3. So we're going to start with the beginning of your the life that we're tapping into, and that's going to be like your family life, that connection to that to your past life. Then, and I don't always read these past life cards in reverse. They don't always come up with feeling like a blocked energy. They feel more like they're storytelling when they come up. So some of that 3 energy I'm seeing already. We have the Mother Maiden Crone. We have 3 cats here in the grass in the Sun card. And then we, of course, we have the 3 of Pentacles. 3 people, 3 cats. And then here we have the Knight of Wands, but I'm drawn to, again, there being 3 souls in this card: the cat, the witch, and the dragon. I'm feeling the home you were born into was probably pretty creative in this past life. I'm feeling a happy home. I'm feeling kind of what I'm seeing in my head is maybe like 200 years ago, and I feel England or Ireland. I'm seeing like rolling green hills, and that's why I'm drawn to those 2. But the landscape could be something else, but that's what I'm feeling right now. We'll get more on that as we go along in the reading. But that 250 years ago, I feel there was 2 parents in your home. They lived happily. I'm not getting abundance of wealth here. I'm getting more abundance in love. Feel that there was always food on the table. Feel like at least one of your parents, if not both, was able to do what made them happy, what made them feel passionate. I'm seeing like needlepoint, but I'm seeing it possibly different for the time period. Not basic stuff. I'm feeling, very artsy, very creative, like you would see from needlepoint artists today. A lot of hard work went into these, and maybe that's me when I'm saying these days. So maybe that is common of that period too, and I'm visualizing more of your like 50s and 60s kind of needlepoint for how things used to be, because I'm feeling very elaborate. I'm feeling giant tapestries, color everywhere, intricate designs, people, on there that really look like the people that they're supposed to be, like portraits. I'm feeling a strong connection now to your mother. I feel like your mother was a portrait maker. I feel your father being successful enough, but your mother, I feel like people came to her to do their paintings or to do this needlepoint is what I keep seeing. So maybe she did the painting first or sketch drawing and then she would needlepoint it. But I'm feeling like that was something that your family was known for, something people came to them for. I even feel like you probably had, royalty, kings, queens, lords, ladies coming to you for your family for this. But this is what you were born into. I feel like really happy life. I feel an older sister and a younger brother. And I'm feeling like they led more towards what your parents' path were. I feel like your sister was like, when you were very, very young, like she was into the needle pointing and sewing, also making a little bit of a name for herself in this area. And I feel as though your brother was doing what your father was doing. Now, I can't really get a good picture on what your father is doing. I see it's like working with his hands, so maybe like a farmer or a blacksmith. But I don't feel like this had a strong, since I can't get like a better visual on it, I don't feel like it had a strong impression on your life, on the way you were raised in this lifetime, because I'm feeling much more about your mom's job coming to me, that creative aspect coming out there. And I feel as though you had some of that creativity in you, but that you weren't, I feel like you weren't into the same kind of creative stuff that your mom was. I don't feel like a paintbrush in your hand. I don't feel like the needle in your hand. I feel like something else. I don't know if this is sculpting or what. I feel like we'll get more of a feeling as we go on through your life, but I do feel that there was creative abilities born into you in that lifetime. Now we're going to go into, so this is like what you were born into, a little bit of your sibling energy that was getting there. Now we're going to go into kind of your childhood and growing up. And again, we're going to draw those 3 cards. So in case you have not had a reading before, the Death card is not like some big bad omen. So, okay, so the King of Wands here, again with that that creative energy. I'm feeling, and then before I was feeling like that connection to royalty or wealthier people coming to you guys. And is that a tapestry? A tapestry or a painting right there on the wall. I'm feeling, again, this wall connection here. So that's very interesting to me right there. So I feel here, growing up, you had a strong spiritual connection. I feel like your family maybe lived under the radar a little bit as to what was the common religion and spiritual path that was common in this time frame. I'm feeling as though you guys lived close to the earth, that connection with your mom and that creativity. Creative people, I always feel like, are very be very spiritual. And I mean, it's not always, a witchcraft journey or a Catholic journey or a Christian journey. There's so many different spiritual ways you can be. And I do feel like that spiritual connection was very strong in your household. But I am getting a sense of, just with this Death card here, I'm getting a sense of hiding, having to hide a lot of your spiritual connection in this lifetime. I'm feeling both of these very strongly here, along with that Sun energy that we had. Already 3 major arcanas here in your reading, which is, we're going to be looking at a strong life here. I think the guides are showing us a life here that is probably influencing you during this lifetime. So, or creating fears, creating dreams, or even in your skills, hobbies, love life. You know, I feel like we're going to see something here just from all these major cards that are coming up already. But this connection here, it's definitely something about hiding. And when I close my eyes, I can see like a floorboard. And I can see the floorboard is loose, and there's things that you as a family, all of you keep under this floorboard. Feels a little bit different of a floorboard. It's not like what I would think of today in a home. I guess it would be more of then, because I'm feeling your home very close to the ground, very close to the earth. So like maybe a rock or a rug is covering this section, this part of the floor that comes up where you keep things in. I'm seeing little sachets. I can't say the word all of a sudden. I'm seeing little bags filled with herbs, rocks, intentions, thoughts, feathers. And I'm feeling these different bags under the floor, and I feel like these are some kind of protective spell or energy. And I'm not sure if it's something that your mom created, or if it's something she bought from someone, or they traded with her for her to do one of her portrait embroideries. But I'm definitely connected to those being hiding and protecting you as a family. I feel there were several times that you guys were almost caught. Partially caught, maybe. I'm seeing something where there's a man and I feel like he has something to do with your father's work, who finds this out, who finds out something that you guys are hiding. And I feel like he tries to report this or go to somebody about this, gather up other people and come and confront you guys. You're not the only ones living life this way. You're not the only ones with this belief. But even those who have this belief felt pressured to fall in line behind him and to kind of come after you like a hunt, like a witch hunt. I don't feel like you guys considered yourself witches. I don't feel that connection, but it's definitely something that we would call witchy in today, spiritual or natural. And I feel that while this was a time that people were still doing some nature-based medicines and different things that connected to, it was not entirely okay. Like I feel like there was a it's like a mockery, like a oh, you worship this stick kind of feeling. But I feel like no matter what he did, trying to gain support, trying to get people to come after you, there was something about your father that they respected. And more importantly, I feel like your mother had enough connections, had her artwork in enough places that they knew there would be no overall ability to get you guys hurt or dismissed or thrown into jail, because very much this is, they're feeling as though you guys were protected. And I feel like some of that protection came from those bags under the floorboards. Yes, there were people that had your back, but I feel like that energy from the floorboard bags, that created that kind of energy. We'll go into a young adulthood, possibly leaving home. Oh, goodness sakes. Oh, goodness sakes. Okay, so right away I see the Seven of Wands, which is like being backed into a corner. I feel like we're probably seeing some of that spiritual, some of that ending of spiritual connectivity, people looking at you and being okay with the way you guys live your life. I'm actually feeling the loss of your mother some point during this time. And during this loss of your mother, I feel loss of protection. So now I no longer feel as though she may have traded for those bags of protection. I feel like she was the one creating them. And perhaps that was where even more of her money came from, was creating spells, creating charms, helping people. And with that, you know what? My heater just popped on. It's probably really loud, isn't it? It's really cold in my house. Um, with that connection to, I'm sorry, my heater. So I feel as though that was possibly where some of her money came from. And when something happened to her, when she died or she left, and I'm feeling death here, I'm feeling natural causes. So I'm not feeling as though others found out about her, but that there was just the natural causes. And after she was gone, the protection was gone. And I feel like this kind of made you as a family unit split up. I see a lot of dissension in the ranks, a lot of arguing, indecisiveness here. So I definitely am sensing a connection to just everything falling apart around you guys. The protection that you guys had, the life that you had, the money, the income, everything that was coming in just kind of was ripped away from you overnight. And I feel like a lot of people were coming after you and your sister as the females. And I feel like your father and your brother kind of did everything that they felt like they could, and then they more or less just sent you on your way. And then we go into this Knight of Swords energy. I don't feel like this. So I'm feeling as though you had to move. You'd been in the same home your entire life. And all of a sudden you had to leave. You had to move. But where I feel like this would have been very hard for many young women today, and then especially, you kind of took it as an opportunity, as a chance, bursting out with energy, going out and kind of discovering a new land, discovering new people, making new friends. I don't feel a lot of fear here coming from you. I feel fear from your family. And I feel fear from the people near you guys. But from you yourself, I feel excitement and passion going forward. Now, at this point, I'm kind of losing here in your young adulthood, which could be at this time frame. How am I feeling? Like 15 to 17 years old, I think. So I'm feeling a loss of your kind of your creative side. I'm feeling like some of that left you during this time. If it's in you, it's always in you. It'll follow you lifetime to lifetime. Some lifetimes you might discover it and work with it, and other lifetimes, you know, you might ignore it, or it might, you know, you might become Picasso, or you might become someone who just doodles, doodles at their desk while they're answering phones. So that energy was definitely out of your life at this point, going into young adulthood. But I do feel like I can see you caravanning. I can see you kind of getting like that into that gypsy mode. I feel like I feel a split between you and your sister. Um, I can see when I look at her, when I look for her energy, I see a child, not her own. So I'm feeling like nannying a servant of sorts. I feel like your mom's kind of reputation had kind of paved that way for her, especially since she did show a little bit of progress in the path that your mom had, and perhaps she was even a teacher for embroidery for a wealthy family for their children. But for you, I feel leaving. And leaving this world behind. And I feel like you went very far away. I feel this mental energy, mental strength from you. I don't. It's very peculiar. I don't feel like a particular skill from you, like a very set skill. I feel a very broad skills, like you dabbled in a lot of different things. I feel like you actually had mechanical skills. I can see you having crafting skills. I can see you being able to take random things and create something new from it. A little bit of a seamstress skill. So I feel like you were able to kind of pick up your pieces and move around a lot and kind of go. I don't feel like when you would find an opportunity to make money or an opportunity to kind of settle down, I don't feel like this would be a long one. And I don't feel like when you looked at the opportunity and said it's not as fruitful or inviting, or I'm not connecting to this life, I don't think it was hard for you to leave. It was very much, okay, what's the next thing? Where's the next place I can go? How can I better my life now? I don't feel that you were, calculating, rude, hurting people, stepping on people to get your way. But I do feel like you were able to shut down emotional connections a lot of time, which is very interesting to see. I feel like, you could work for a family for a while, save up, money, collect odds and ends that they were perhaps getting rid of that they didn't want anymore, and then use that money and those odds and ends to go over here and build a bigger life. Like, I get. There was a story a few years ago about a boy who had a paperclip, and he was able to trade that paperclip, trade it, all the way up until he got a car. Like, he would just trade it for something that was like a penny or two more. And I kind of feel like that kind of energy following you here. Like, you able to trade in the smaller, less worthy things and get something a little bit bigger, and really craft your life. Yes. Oh yes, yes. So, um, so right here, that high priestess, that inner intuition, like that is you. That is definitely you. Um, Able to move, keep moving, see what is available to you, see what the bigger picture is. And then this Two of Cups reversed. Definitely feel a block energy here. Definitely feel this is you able to close down your emotional side in that lifetime, not create strong emotional attachments, and be able to leave. I feel like, at the time, like if you were, I feel like there was at least a time or two where you would nanny. And I feel at the time while you were taking care of these children, you loved them, you took care of them, you wanted the best for them, you wouldn't let harm fall them. But when it was time for you to leave, you would cry, walk away, and you would be fine. I feel like you left a bigger footprint on other people than people left on you. Two more major cards here, which really I feel a strength about something in this life following you to this one. I'll be really curious. I'm always curious, but I'll be really curious to see if any of this resonates with you, with lessons in this life or struggles that you're going through, things that are following you around. This World card. You traded and traded and traded and really created this whole big life that was yours. That was something that you fantasized about, something that in your mind was hitting the highest equivalent of all abundance you could have in this lifetime. I feel like this is financial, a home, spiritually, and relationship wise. You felt like you had really connected and got it all. And I feel like that's an amazing feeling to get for this kind of reading, especially when we're looking at a female several hundred years ago. With this card, I'm getting like this strong energy kind of coming off of it of a home, like a large home, bricks, stone bricks. I'm feeling maybe you married into, like, you create this whole big life and then you create who you wanted to be, and I can kind of sense like you marrying into some kind of wealthy family. I'm feeling there was love there, but it was like you questioned whether that love was is this what love really feels like? I feel like that was what your idea, what your head would ask you. Like, even though everything was perfect and wonderful, I still feel like because of the way you had been able to separate life and emotions so well over the years, that you went into this relationship going, I'm feeling these things that people said I would feel. I love him, he loves me, but is this really what love feels like? Like, it doesn't feel as strong or as magical, or my heart doesn't swell as big as I thought it would. But I'm getting that, and I feel like all this was actually done rather young still for you. I'm feeling mid 20s. I'm feeling like 24 to 27 here in this your young adulthood, and finding finding a person and kind of working and working and working and getting to where you want it to be. What's interesting to me is we're going into the world and feeling still like a little bit of that missing love connection, and we're also getting or should we? I'm also getting like this um, slowdown emotion for you. Like, okay, I've worked so hard and now I can kind of take it easy because I've created the life I want. And I feel like a little bit of that artist in you is starting to wake up again at this point. Um, that creativity, that, yes, yes. Okay, sorry. So that slow down, I was wondering if we would see the Four of Swords, which is very much about rest, relaxing. Ten of Cups, like completion, emotional completion, finding family, living happily with family. So I'm feeling that connection here. I see children. I don't feel like they were yours. Your husband had them before you were together, so I feel as though his first wife had passed on, and this is kind of how you ended up here, and then in this relationship. And I'm feeling a healthy, happy relationship with you and the children and him, but I don't feel like you had the children physically yourself. But so I feel like that's a little bit of that love, missing love connection there. You know, we can love other people's children, and we can love like our own adopted children and stepchildren just as they are our own physical children that we grew up with or that we raised inside of ourselves. But I feel like you stepped into a family that was fully functioning and running, and there were so many servants kind of filling all these roles that it was maybe different then than it would be now, stepping into a family with stepchildren where you can get that connection and that full love. That here there was a separation just because other people, so many other people were involved because it was a wealthier family. But I do feel like you fit that figurehead position pretty well. And then you went into that whole resting stage, relaxing, letting things kind of happen again. The Seven of Pentacles is all about like rushing into something before it's fully formed, before it's ready, when it's reversed. So I feel like a lot of you kind of started to wonder, a lot of your mind started to wonder that. Like, did I rush into becoming this part of, you know, joining this part of my life, having a family and children before I was emotionally ready, before I had done everything I wanted to do? Luckily for you, there was a lot of money and you got to kind of do what you wanted to do a little bit instead of, you know, having to juggle 500 things at once. So, wow. So many major arcanas here, lady. The Magician and the Justice card and the Two of Pentacles. So here, the Magician, I feel like that from within to without. You know, all these tools, but they're all. What's different about this compared to like the High Priestess is the tools and the elements that the Magician has are all within oneself. They're all like metaphorical energy, things you can't really see. So I feel like at this point, this is when you really start to feel and understand that you had carried gifts with you since childhood. There had been things that you had learned from your parents that you hadn't really truly formed and realized that you knew until this point, until you were given the opportunity to rest. Just because things had been, you had been so concerned with creating this life for years that you never slowed down. But now that you had that chance to slow down, find that, you know, Two of Pentacles kind of balance in your life. You had, you were able to kind of tap back into that and start creating. I can feel, so since I've started doing this reading, I was curious if the Tower card would come up. I'm going to see if it's on the bottom. No, it's not the Shadow card. So I've been feeling like something about the Tower, about a house actually falling apart and decaying. Things, and I know we had a house fall apart, but it didn't literally dissolve. It was the family inside of it that fell apart and split up. But I was feeling a lot of energy about just collecting, creating a new home from a home that physically fell apart. And I don't know if this is a metaphor or just visuals the guides are showing us in order to kind of explain something else, but I'm definitely feeling something about a physical home being destroyed. And now that I've been talking about it, I can kind of sense it. Where's my as above? As above. So I can kind of sense it as a farmhouse. And I feel like the farmhouse is on your land. I'm seeing kind of this, you leaving the home, kind of taking over this farmhouse and kind of creating newness from that which has fallen apart, as though and that's okay. So shuffling mindlessly, and this card kind of falls out, and I'm seeing like that brick housing, and this is the Five of Water, but I'm more connected and feeling that, and the guides get very visual when we're doing past life readings, so I'm definitely connected to those bricks there. That oh, half my deck flipped backwards. So I feel there was a small farmhouse on your land that you were able to kind of take over. I'm seeing like a broken wooden table. I'm seeing an old dolly of some kind, corn or straw, faded cloth, but you took it and recreated something from it. I'm definitely getting that heavy, heavy feeling the guides give me when I'm onto something and I'm trying to find it. Let me see. Trying to going to sometimes fidgeting for me. So I see this old little farmhouse, and it's on the land. It's like people that used to work for you guys and or for your husband before you were there. And it fell apart, and I feel like they've been gone at least 40 years. And some things about this home deeply reminded you of your childhood. They reminded you of the home that you grew up with and with your family. I'm seeing a candlestick, like a wooden candlestick that's broken in this doll. And I don't know what you do, but somehow you're able to kind of take them apart and recreate them again. But I'm feeling as though this little home, this shabby little home, becomes your sanctuary. Even though you live in this huge, I don't know if it's a castle or a mansion or what you would call it then, but an abbey? No, it's not an abbey. So a castle, a mansion that you're in, you still crave time to yourself. I feel like sometimes the vastness, the hugeness of the home can be overwhelming to you. The empty rooms can be overwhelming to you. There's rooms within the castle that have furniture and pictures and old artwork that are just covered in sheets and blankets. I feel like there are closets and drawers and trunks that are off limits almost to you. It's like they're all locked and there's no big secrets hiding in them. It's just they're not accessed. They're not things that the people in your new family look at. They're not things that they care to see. I feel kind of lonely for you here. I feel emotion of loneliness, being surrounded by others and being in this vast, huge space, but you're just so lonely and you feel almost like the bigger the space is, the more confined you are. And almost like this disorganization and this piles of different things within the little cottage that has fallen apart. That makes you feel more organized mentally. That makes you feel as though you have a million miles to run in rather than when you actually have a million miles to run in. And I think that's very much because I'm getting a sense that there was that love, there was that connection. But just as with the families and the homes and things that you worked with as you were moving forward, with your husband, you felt like, if you left him, if he left you, if he died or something, you would be sad, you would mourn, but that you would get over it rather quickly. And I think you accessed and understood the feeling that it would take him longer to get over this than it would take you to get over it. I keep seeing pants hiding underneath your dress. I'm feeling like a lot of when you're in this cottage, the dress comes off and you're in pants of sorts, or even your underclothes, and being free and being more you. I'm feeling as though this is kind of that relationship that you stayed in for the rest of your life. With that Ace of Pentacles, I feel like the energy coming to me from that right now is that the abundance, you always kind of felt like the finance was there, the home, the security, the safety, but you know, the emotional part, it always felt like it was on a different journey, and you always felt like you had to be on, like you had to fabricate emotions, feelings, opinions, words that you shared with others to stay on this financial abundant path. Three of Cups. Again, I don't feel complete loneliness because you know, there was that three I was feeling a lot in the beginning. While this was lonely, while this was strange, I do feel like there were friends in this life. I'm drawn to the oldest son that you helped raise. I actually feel as though he was gay, and the two of you became very close because there were a lot of parts of each of you that you had to hide. He had to hide this kind of from the world, and you kind of had to hide the fact that you weren't really in love with your husband, and that you prefer to be alone in this cottage and kind of just doing your own thing. And I feel like a friendship was formed out of that. The Page of Wands, I feel I'm feeling as though you always felt like you were on the road to creative understanding. Because with that wands, I always get like a lot of either like sexual or creative work energy. So I feel like there was always in your life, you felt like you were growing and growing, and you never be as good as your mom was with her embroidery, with her crafting, creative side. Your father, now I'm getting blacksmithery, and I know earlier I wasn't sure, but that's what's really weighing on me right now. So I feel like he was such a master in his craft that you felt like you would never be a master at anything. It was like you could keep working and working and working, and you just wouldn't be able to do it. But I feel that a lot of this cottage was really such a refuge here, that you hid away, and you hid your emotions were free in here. You were free to be yourself. I feel like, you know, if you did womanly activities, or if you were fixing the walls, even any of these things. And when I say creative, I don't always just mean like art type things, but I mean like really creating and fixing and molding. When you're doing that in this life, it was so confined. It was accepted because of who you were, your state, your stature, who you were married to, but it was not acceptable outside of those confines. I feel like what you were doing, what you were getting better at. So it was something you were never able to truly stand side by side with someone else's work, or compare your skills with someone else's, because so much of this was quiet and secret into yourself. But I do feel friends. I feel the oldest son. I feel a very young maid. I feel, you know, there was probably like a 15-year difference between the two of you, and I almost feel like your connection to her became more mother-like than you were to your own stepchildren. So even though everything was lonely, as far as love, as far as filling your heart, like I don't feel like that soulmate love connection ever settled down into this lifetime for you, because you were connected to kind of working so hard that you wouldn't have to worry about anything all of a sudden. But then you were in such a point that yeah, you didn't need to worry, but there was no room left to grow or do anything else. And then kind of the end of your life. Oh goodness sakes. Okay, so this Three of Swords. We had a lot of threes again. The Three of Swords is that heartbreak, despair. So I feel that, just like we were just talking about, that heartbreak inside of you. I don't think you recognized it a lot, even when you were lonely. I think it was something that you try to fill with food or drink, activity, staying busy. I can see gardening going on around your little cottage. Just a life you were trying to build for yourself that was idyllic, that was different than the life that you were in, that you didn't have to worry about anything else. And then, but I feel like that kind of that heartbreak and that sadness really followed you to the end. That Eight of Pentacles, again, concentrating so hard on all the pieces that would make you financially abundant without ever truly opening your heart and feeling that true love kind of feeling. And then the Nine of Wands here. I'm feeling this is very indicative of the end of how you passed. I can kind of see like a revealing moment. Like, I feel you lived a pretty decent life. And then the oldest son and you were close, but I feel as though there became a point where your husband had died and the oldest son became kind of lord of the manor, or whatever it would be, this position here. I'm feeling him in charge, and his fear, his worry suddenly, that he went from never really worrying to worry. I don't know if you threatened him. There was some kind of argument. I can't see the argument clearly. It's an argument, but it's between the two of you. I can kind of see you've got your hair at this point. I feel like there's just huge chunks of gray streaks, but it's long and black. Like long, like past your bottom long. And then he's got a, he's blonde. I feel like most of the family is blonde that you're with. And then his beard is to a smaller point. I can see and I can feel the two of you arguing. And I feel that somehow he causes your death. I feel this argument brought such a fear in him that he became worried about his true life, his true identity becoming, coming out there and really destroying everything that he had worked for, destroying his life, his abundance, his financial security. And I feel like that's possibly why the two of you had gotten along so well, was just because your main concern was having that financial stability, which is interesting because you would understand yours, because you came from a period of all of a sudden not knowing if you would have stability. But him, he always grew up in it. But I feel as though he knew how quickly it could be taken away with his true feelings, with his true identity. And so because of that, I feel there had been a moment where his worry took him over an edge, took him over a point. And I'm feeling poison within your cabin, unfortunately, is how the end is that I'm seeing. And I feel like he's there at the end, almost like he changes his mind at the last moment and comes to you. And I feel like it was him. I feel like something had happened there, but that you forgave him because you didn't want him to go through what you had gone through your whole life, being concerned about finances, being concerned about creating this abundant, practical, and fulfilling lifestyle that doesn't actually give you emotional fulfillment and satisfaction, that doesn't actually give you love. And you were afraid if you were angry at the end with him that he would never be able to find that love either. Whew. Felt really heavy there at the end. My eyes are very heavy. My body's very heavy. Always tends to happen when I get to the death. But that was a very interesting past life experience, I feel like. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say. We haven't actually spoken yet, so I'm kind of pretty excited actually to see what resonates there for you. And I hope it does. And I hope you have a really blessed afternoon, whatever you're doing. So